Matthew chapter 22, the parable of the marriage feast. Jesus once more employed parables in addressing and teaching the people. The monarchy of heaven is like a monarch who planned a grand marriage feast for his son. And he sent his special envoys at the time of the feast to call the guests who had been invited. But all his guests started giving excuses, unwilling to come. So he sent other envoys saying, "Tell the guests who have been invited, behold, my feast is now set. My oxen and choice cattle have been slaughtered. Everything is now perfect, as you like it. So come to the marriage feast." But the guests who had been invited ignored the call and proceeded with other businesses of interest. One went right to his farm, another to his shopping business. The others attacked the monarch's envoys, mistreated them, and murdered them. But when the monarch heard what had happened, he was very angry, and he dispatched his armed forces and special troops, slaughtered those killers, and burned down their city. Then he called his envoys and told them, "The marriage feast is set, but the guests who had been invited were not deserving of any special honor. So go to the broad streets and invite to this marriage feast as many guests as you can." So the envoys proceeded into the broad streets and assembled the masses of people they found. Bad people, good people, everybody. And guests crowded the entire marriage hall. Later, when the monarch arrived to meet the guests, he noticed a man in the place who was not robed in proper wedding attire. And so he asked him, "Friend, how did you enter this place without a proper wedding attire?" But the man was dumb, unable to say a word. Then the monarch told the envoys, "Strap him hand and foot, remove him from this place, and throw him into the thick darkness outside, where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. For many people are invited, but only a few are finally picked." Next, the Pharisees went and carefully plotted how they might trap Jesus with questions. And they dispatched to him their followers and special agents in the party of Herod, the Herodians, saying, "Teacher, we are aware that you are sincere and true, and instruct the way of God truly and sincerely, and you are not partial or biased in any way, for you are not concerned about the status of men. Please inform us, what is your opinion? Is it lawful for our people to pay taxes to Caesar, Emperor of Rome, or not?" But Jesus perceived their tricks, and he asked them, "Why do you try me, O hypocrites, pretenders? Let me see the tax coin." And they took a denarius, a silver coin, and presented it to him. "Whose face and writings are these?" Jesus asked them. And they replied, "Caesar's." Then Jesus told them, "Offer therefore to Caesar that which is Caesar's, and to God that which is God's." When they heard this reply, they were quite astonished. So they left Jesus and went away. That very day, some of the Sadducees, who maintained that there is no resurrection, approached Jesus and asked him, "Teacher, Moses wrote the law for us, that if a married man dies without offspring, the dead man's brother, if he had a brother, should marry the widow so that they can have offspring on behalf of the dead man." As events happened, there were 7 brothers who lived with us at a point. The first married a wife and died without offspring, leaving his widow to his brother. The same tragedy happened to the second, the third, and eventually all the 7 brothers. And finally, the woman also died. So, on the day of resurrection, whose spouse does the woman become? For all the 7 brothers had married her. Jesus replied them, "You are obviously wrong. You don't know the scriptures very well, nor the power of the Lord God. For in the resurrection, they do not marry, and they are not offered in marriage, but they remain like God's special angels in paradise. But regarding the resurrection of those who have died, have you not studied the utterance made to you by the Lord God? He said, 'I am the Lord, God of Abraham, the Lord, God of Isaac, and the Lord, God of Jacob. The Lord God is not God of the dead, but God of the living.'" When the great throngs heard these words, they marveled at the teachings of Jesus. But when the Pharisees learned that Jesus had calmed the Sadducees, they assembled again. Next, a lawyer among them came forward to try Jesus, and he asked, "Teacher, which is the foremost commandment in the law?" Jesus replied, "Do love the Lord your God with all your heart, love him with all your soul, and likewise with all your mind. This is the foremost and the prime commandment. And the second prime commandment is just like it. Do love your neighbor as you love your own self." The entire legislative works of Moses and the instructions of God's special envoys are standing on these 2 commandments. One day, the Pharisees assembled, and Jesus asked them, "What is your opinion about the Christ? Whose offspring is he?" And they replied, "The offspring of David the king." Jesus asked them, "Then why did the Spirit prompt King David to address him Lord? For King David said, 'The Lord addressed my Lord, be seated placidly on my right until I make your foes a footstool for your feet.' And thus King David calls the Christ Lord. How is he then the offspring of David?" Nobody was able to respond, and from then on, none dared to question Jesus any longer.